Hey, what's up guys, Jaeky here. Today we're going to be checking out the Razer Huntsman V3 Pro 8K edition. This is Razer's newest refresh of their Huntsman V3 Pro. If you guys remember a while back, I did review the original Huntsman, and the only real difference here this time around is that this keyboard has upgraded acoustics, so the switches come better lubed out of the factory, and they also added some additional foam inside of the board to improve the acoustics, because that was something that a lot of people complained about, is the switch feel as well as the acoustics, myself included. So I will be doing a sound test later on in the video comparing the old board compared to this new 8K refresh. And the only other difference here is the 8000 Hz polling. So you do get 8000 Hz polling with this keyboard for faster response times. In terms of the physical board itself, everything is identical to the old Huntsman V3 Pro. You have the aluminum top plate as well as the plastic bottom here. The switches is a floating design, and literally everything is pretty much the exact same. It comes in 3 different colorways, the 2 main ones being black and white, of course, but then you also have the esports green edition, which you can only get from the Razer website, and it should look something like this. This is the Viper V3 Pro in esports green. It looks very nice in person. It's a nice neon green colorway, so if you like this colorway, you can also get the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K in that esports green. The old Huntsman V3 Pro did come in a 60% TKL and full size layout, but this 8K version only comes in TKL and full size, which is a little bit unfortunate because I know some people do prefer 60%. I actually have been enjoying using a TKL keyboard again. Coming from a Wooting 60HE, I do miss using my arrow keys for stuff like editing. I did miss having those arrow keys, but it did take me a little bit actually to get used to a TKL again, coming from a 60%. But if you are looking to get the 8000 Hz, there is no 60%, it's only TKL and full-sized. The price for the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K is going to be $250 for the full-size version, and $220 for the black TKL, which I have here, and $230 for the white TKL. The keycaps here are full PBT keycaps, and these do use Razer's analog optical switches, the Gen 2 switches. And I'm not going to talk too much about rapid trigger or customizable actuation points because I imagine most of you already know what that is. This keyboard does support all of that: customizable actuation points, rapid trigger, snap tap / SOCD, all of that is supported, and they do provide an actual advantage in-game for super competitive players. So yeah, all of that is on the Huntsman V3 Pro, and it works flawlessly. The main thing here to talk about is the 8000 Hz polling rate, which is one of the main selling points of this new refresh. My opinion on 8000 Hz polling rate on keyboards has always been that it's not going to make the difference between getting a kill in-game and not getting a kill. On paper, 8000 Hz is faster, and according to Razer's testing, they are 11% faster than the nearest keyboard competitor with 8000 Hz, coming in at 0.58 milliseconds compared to the 0.65. So that's an 11% decrease in average latency. So Razer is apparently 11% faster than the competitors, which sounds fast on paper, but if you really look at the numbers, you're really not going to tell a difference between 0.58 milliseconds and 0.65 milliseconds. That's literally a difference of 0.07 milliseconds, which I'm pretty sure no human on Earth can detect. But on paper, this is the fastest board, which in and of itself is quite impressive. You do have these quick function buttons up here, which I actually really like. This one is to control your multimedia. And then this one here, you can set to whatever macro you want, but by default, it's on Xbox Game Bar, but you can change this in Razer Synapse. And then you also have a volume knob here to change the volume, and you can also mute as well, which I don't really use too often, but I do find that this is quite convenient. You also have different profiles that you can save onto the onboard memory on the keyboard, and you can access them very quickly with these keys right here. You can also change your rapid trigger as well as actuation straight on the board, but obviously it's a lot easier to do with Razer Synapse. One thing I would have liked to see is for Razer to start using web-based software, because most other companies now are switching to web-based software. So yeah, if you do want to create your own macros and really get into the nitty-gritty settings of this board, you do have to download Razer Synapse, but the nice part is everything saves onto the onboard memory on the keyboard, so you don't actually have to leave Razer Synapse open. You can just change your settings and it will automatically save, which is pretty nice. Razer does talk about how their analog optical technology is superior than Hall effect because the analog opticals supposedly have tighter tolerance. Razer's optical switches are also apparently calibrated right out of the factory to the highest standards, and according to Razer's testing, they perform approximately 2.5 times better than the closest competitor, achieving true 0.1 millimeter precision. So yeah, pretty impressive specs on paper, but if you ask me whether or not I could tell a difference between using this Huntsman V3 Pro and my Wooting 60HE in-game? My honest answer is no, but that doesn't change the fact that this is still a very impressive board from Razer. On the bottom here, you do have 2 kick-up feet with 2 different adjustment levels. You either have a 6-degree typing angle here with the first one, or you have a 9-degree typing angle if you fully flip it out. You can also just use it completely flat as well. And the USB-C port is on the top left of the board. The provided cable is a braided USB-C to USB-A, nothing special, just a regular braided cable. This is what the box looks like right here. Inside, obviously, you're going to get the board, cable, as well as some documentation. The cool thing about the Huntsman V3 Pro is you can actually turn on SnapTap, aka SOCD, straight from the board. You don't have to open up the software to do that. You can just do that straight on the board with this FN and Shift shortcut. So for example, if you're playing something like Overwatch, which does support SnapTap, you can enable it. And then if you play something like CS, which actually banned SnapTap, you can disable it really quickly. You also get this wrist rest right here. This is the same wrist rest that you've got with the old Huntsman V3 Pro. They haven't changed anything about the wrist rest, which honestly I'm not really a fan of. This wrist rest is quite hard. There's no real plush to it. It's just a solid piece with this leather texture on top. So not the best wrist rest in the world. It is magnetic. It snaps onto the board, as you can see here, but not the most comfortable wrist rest and not something I would use either. But then again, I'm not really a fan of wrist rests in the first place. And that's pretty much all you get in the box. Let's go over the RGB really quickly because the RGB does get quite bright on this keyboard, which is nice. I personally am not a fan of RGB, but for those of you who do like turning on RGB in your setup, you will be quite pleased to know that the RGB on this board is quite bright. As you can see, RGB does get quite bright, and honestly, it does look pretty nice. So yeah, here's your little LCD display down here as well, which shows you quick information. And the cool part is if you push down on a switch, it shows you how much you're actually actuating the switch on the LCD itself. So I thought that was a cool little touch right there. Okay, now let's do a quick sound test so that you can get an idea of the improved sound signature of the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K. Like I said, it is improved quite a bit, and I do think it sounds pretty decent now. Obviously, it's not going to sound as good as a custom keyboard, but before it was extremely rattly, whereas now they've improved a lot upon that. So yeah, the stock sound, in my opinion, sounds quite a bit better. So yeah, that was the sound test of the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K. Obviously, it doesn't sound amazing, but it's definitely improved a lot more compared to the old version. But yeah, guys, currently on paper, this is the fastest keyboard on the market right now. Are you going to notice a difference from this compared to something like the Wooting 60HE in-game? Most likely not. So it really comes down to your own personal preference, whether or not you prefer this type of layout or whether or not you just like Razer products. I've been using this keyboard for the past week now, and honestly, it's a pretty solid keyboard. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the Huntsman V3 Pro 8K. If you guys are interested in checking it out, I will leave a link to it in the description below. But that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.